to make common sense, that cars driving by and everything will kind of take away some of that noise of people talking and having a cigarette. I don't think they're out there doing jumping jacks and screaming, but I know that they're probably talking over each other. Well, if you think about it, they're on the other side where the parking lot is. It's bouncing off that building, it's going right up towards the residents. If it's on the other side where the street is, it's gonna bounce off the building and get taken away by the cars driving by. That's my belief. I don't know that for a fact.
Do you have any issue if we table this for 2 weeks or a month? You're shaking your head, all
No, I
right.
have no issue. No. We want to work with you. We're going to do what we can.
Yeah,
I
we are too.
don't want people to believe me. That's not what we're trying
No,
to
I'm
do.
sure you want to be
We
good
don't want the
neighbors.
neighbors to complain and be unhappy with it. Absolutely.
The sense I'm getting from the majority of the board is if you come back and show us a plan that, as Mr. Crisco had said, you have some sort of shaded, concealed sort of area in the front of the building for smokers, and you're going to address Mr. O'Rourke's issue with noise with some sort of shrubs, trees, what have you, to try to buffle that noise that is naturally going over to his property line. I know you're not happy about it.
I think some of it's a landlord issue of the
Yeah.
design. That's,
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is, but
for me to, for me to get.
unfortunately, you're caught in the middle.
Mr. Delaney, one point to make out on what you said. Wouldn't it be probably the right thing is to talk to Mr. DeCola first before you go through the expense and time of,
Well, I would hope that they would work with him before they went out and did anything and get the
so
approval.
maybe
to
the
do it.
town administrator could at least give him a heads up and who would be contacting who? Should they contact him? How do you want to do
They
this?
should contact me. The other piece that we need to look at also is the fact that the location and the site improvements were subject to approval of the CPC. So the CPC were the ones that would have regulated the lighting, the parking, any screening or activities, and that would have been not necessarily with the folks that are before you this evening, but with whoever the
Yeah,
owner
good
was that
point.
constructed the building. So I would suggest that if there are additional site improvements that are required, legally and ethically, we should go back and speak with the CPC, even if it's on an informal basis, and get their input into that process.
Great.
Because they do serve a very important role in site plan regulation in the community.
Thank you.
Um,
So if you would contact me, I can
Again, from a timing standpoint, for the businesses, obviously, the patio usage window of opportunity is upon us.
Right.
This isn't gonna do them much good in November,
No, I agree.
or December. So it's, to me, and again, I don't know if we can do a 3-month thing and revisit it. Let's do something now to allow them to go to 9 o'clock, but revisit it sooner rather than later to ensure that something's being done.
I see 3 steps that could be taken that would satisfy me, because I think it would lead to a reduction, maybe not eliminating, but a reduction. And one is Mike's suggestion of moving the smoking to the other side of the building. 2 is come up with a better way of controlling what the band does. And 3 is to ask the police department to make a point around closing time to have a cruiser out there on and off to see if they can cut down on these people that think it's a drag strip coming out of there at night. And after a while, the message gets around, because it's probably a very common crowd that's in there, that's hanging in there in the evening. Maybe we can throttle that down. And if we could get that much done, right, then I think running the patio to 9 o'clock would be a reasonable request, and I think it might satisfy the neighbors. If we can bring, instead of, I don't see adding time to the patio as directly related to the problems that you're complaining about.
Other than this is an opportunity for us to get the issues
Right.
addressed.
So, sounds like you're okay with granting a temporary extension of hours.
And
Until 9
again, even if
o'clock.
we do it, and again, whether it be 3 months, it's gonna get them through the season anyway. And I tell you, when it comes time to renew the license in December, we're just modifying the license, to take it away. But in the meantime, I'd like to see some progress and effort made on your part to address it, whether it be the suggestion of moving the smoking area, looking at some sort of screening, particularly on the Pluff Ave side of things. And then we'll handle the police department, the chief's here, I think he heard us, that's what's going on. in relation to people leaving the establishment at closing time. So, again, I want to see your business succeed, and I want to see it grow and flourish. But by the same token, we need the issues addressed more quickly, more directly, and more positively.
Mr. Misery, do you have any issue with that proposal? Mr. Prisco?
So,
On board.
For how long you talking? 3 months? Just for the season?
I'd say through October, September,
To Labor
October.
Day.
Labor Day?
what's that?
I'd say you give them a month of
You
September.
know, I'd say September 30th, and if you want to continue beyond that, he has to come back. You know, until 9 o'clock.
So if I can have a motion that addresses all of that, Mr. Foote, do you have something?
So,
And I think we have to put it in the caveat about
September
they need to
30th.
address the issues of noise, smoking in vehicular traffic.
So 9 o'clock, you said?
yeah, it's 9 PM.
Vehicular
Okay,
traffic noise more than just traffic.
You just put it, you know, subject to review, you know, that's, you know, subject to review on September 30th in relation to impact on the neighborhood.
Did you get the last half of that? I like,
I
no,
just
it's good.
threw that
I
in.
think that's
So
a
it kind of- it's all
reasonable
encompassing.
compromise. I hope the abutters feel that way too.
You probably did, I was mumbling, as usual. What I'm suggesting is issuing it for 9 o'clock through September 30th, subject to assessing the impact on the neighborhood on that day, as far as continuation.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a temporary change of outdoor patio seating hours for the Great American Tavern, 303 Main Street as follows: 9 PM until September 30th, followed by an assessment of
Neighborhood impact.
neighborhood impact.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Leary. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Carucci, you wanted to say something before I take a vote. Or did
I
you?
was hoping you were gonna split the difference in the operating hours to 8 o'clock. Okay. I will call you the next time the band is playing, everyone, you come and sit in my living room. Okay? So you understand.
You can call me.
No, I don't wanna call him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All, that's unanimous.
And again, tomorrow, contact the town administrator, get in touch with the building inspector in relation to altering location and any other things we can do to make you more successful and make the neighbors happiest.
Mr. Misery has a comment.
Just a comment. I don't think anyone should ever have to call you about the band. I think that you're there, you should know when the band is making too much noise.
Common sense has to prevail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You skip over item 7? No, just kidding. Item 7, Chestnut Street traffic control measures. Redo.
Redo.
I guess, the way, well, first, the board has decided to reconsider its early decision because the board would like to see the best possible solution come out of this issue that's affecting the entire Chestnut Street, New Street issue. We know that ultimately it may not please everyone, but we'd like to address the issue of truck traffic down in that area. And that's been what we've been looking to do for some time now. And hopefully, we're getting closer to a solution. I think I'd like to start by having our DPW director, Mr. Cannavale, come up and just, at this point, based upon, Mr. Cannavale, you should be aware that as a result of myself giving more thought to the neighbors having all the information provided to us, I provided it to Rita Mullen and Nate Foss, all the information that you've given to us. So I believe everyone who's here should have it, should have had it by now. I know there's a couple of meetings over this past weekend. that was reasonably attended, I believe. Pretty good turnout from what I could review from emails I received. So if you can just start us off by just recapping what the board had originally decided, what the alternatives you came up with, and then I'll have the police chief and fire chief weigh in, and the town engineer as well, if I see he's here, if he wishes to comment as well. So,
yeah, this has been a lesson learned for the chiefs, myself, you gentlemen as well, because we've learned quite a bit about the entire process. We originally started with a request for a truck exclusion. We did a traffic study to get the count of the trucks, and in the discussion about that, the realization that the alternative would put the trucks, the only feasible one within North Reading would put it down in front of the schools. And the thought was, what's an alternative that would work? And after discussion, we got to speed tables or raised crosswalks. I think late April, early May, was decided to do 4 of those. One at the crest of the hill by the intersection of New and Chestnut, one halfway down the hill, one at roughly Kid Spots, and one roughly Monahan Lumber. When the town engineer, I had to have him go mark it out, because what you mark on a map and the street is 2 different things. People saw those from neighborhood interest, what's happening. Based on that, I would look at some of the literature and after our discussion before town meeting, perhaps eliminating 2 of the speed tables and putting in road narrowing. There are plenty of data. I think I supplied to everybody with a summary of things that will take care of various traffic problems. We've kind of shifted from a truck problem to a speed problem, and it seems like we're shifting back to it's a truck problem again. So the speed tables are good at stopping or slowing down traffic, but not for reducing or moving truck traffic away. So in that respect, some of the speed tables, the road narrowing, other alternatives we discussed, are more for slowing down speed in general. It doesn't really help traffic volume, it doesn't really help trucks. So I think the neighbors, I've seen some of the emails back and forth, they realize the pros and cons of these. Anything that's called a vertical device, like speed bump, would cause noise. Everybody knows that, whereas a narrowing doesn't cause noise. From a DPW perspective, anything that basically is a dam in the middle of the road is a potential safety problem with icing in the winter. And it's basically a target for our guys as well. So I summarized a 1-page document that had various administrative, non-engineering functions, and then options, and then getting down into more engineering functions. I'm moving more towards the recommendation, and I'll let the chiefs speak for themselves. More on the administrative side, maybe more enforcement, maybe installing some of those radar signs to say, here's the speed, and sorry, you're going, like driver education, things of that nature. Something of that nature, and or the truck exclusion. The truck exclusion we can do in-house. We could do it 4 weeks. 4 weeks or less, submit it to the state. Probably within 6 weeks we'll have an answer back. Just because we ask for a truck exclusion doesn't mean we have to implement a truck exclusion. So there's no risk to the community by submitting for it. So it's just a document we package with our traffic study, describe the alternative and the characteristics of the alternative route, and then submit to them. They come back. So it's a cheap, quick alternative we can put together to get out there and give us an answer. There are other things such as putting barrels in crosswalks, which I know will get run over, but just as quickly you put them up, signs, we love our children, please drive slowly. So there's signage options, there's things in crosswalks. There's a variety of non-structural, non-building speed berm type things that we could consider.
Mr. Messeri, you already had it.
Just, you mentioned the time it took to file for the truck exclusion. There's no guarantee that when we file it, we'll get an exclusion too, right?
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure you mentioned.
No, it's not a guarantee. But the only really feasible alternative in town is currently used for trucking. So it's not like we're putting from one street to another, an unsuitable street. So, but yes, we can't guarantee, because it goes through the district, then it goes to Boston for the district.
Mr. Prisco?
Just in regards to the truck exclusion, is there any in our charter or somewhere in our bylaws or something that associated with us actually going through the process of, do we have to have a hearings or anything on doing a truck exclusion, or can we just go ahead and submit the paperwork?
Board has already had open hearings on the truck exclusion. So there's not a need to go forward again. However, if you do decide to enact it, it has to be done at a public meeting. Needs to be voted by
So
the
if we
board
get the
in public.
approval